Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Rachel Hope. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Grants and Service Manager of Third Ladder, and I have the honor of working really closely with the programs that we support. So as you guys know, we've been doing these partner to program calls for a while, but we kind of wanted to take a bit of a different shift. Um, and ask some different types of questions so you can hear directly from them. So, for our new series is on human dignity in vulnerable communities. And we are joined by Andrea Baker from Project Suma in Bolivia to kind of get into that question of what does it mean to protect human dignity in vulnerable communities. So we'll get to hear a little bit from her on that. So Andrea, thank you so much for being with us. To get started, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Project Suma and the community that you serve?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am Andrea. I have my husband and I moved to Bolivia in 2001. So this month is 25 years for us of life and service in Bolivia. Um, yeah, it's been a joy. We went originally to serve the urban poor, and that became a ministry with and among sexually exploited women in El Alto, Bolivia. El Alto is kind of a marginal community outside our city, outside of the capital of La Paz. And so we started with just street outreach, and that kind of grew into a drop-in center where we could support with like crisis support. And then that moved into deeper healing and counseling and discipleship and leadership development. And most recently, it has grown into economic opportunity as well. And we also serve alongside the moms the same services for the children.
It's an incredible place. If anyone ever gets to go to Bolivia, it's one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
Um, so when you think about the community you serve, what are some of the ways that you see human dignity being threatened or overlooked?
Oh, she's like springing these on me. Okay. Um, how do I see dignity threatened or
Over
overlooked? Wait, overlooked or what was the other one?
threatened or overlooked?
Oh, threatened or overlooked. So both negative. Got it. Um, well, gosh, women do not have the same opportunities as men. I think girls at a young age learn that they are secondary to the needs of the men around them. You know, little sisters will learn that it's their job to serve and cook the food to their brothers who are sitting at the table. And then that kind of expands to lots of expectations that are put on women um, in comparison to men. Um, you know, in since we've been in El Alto and for a variety of reasons, the number of sexually exploited women, like sexual exploitation or prostitution, is legal or permitted in Bolivia. And so to work legally in a brothel, you need to register with the government. And so when we first got there, there were like 3,000 women in sex work and commercial sexual exploitation registered. And now that number is easily over 25,000 in the cities of El Alto and La Paz. So like we've had, I don't know if you've seen Bolivia in the news recently, but we've had significant political unrest and economic unrest, particularly in La Paz where we're serving. And so those vulnerabilities or those violations of dignity, I don't know, like just fall heavier on women. Um, yeah. So for every man, I mean, every woman is servicing around 10 clients on average a night. So a large number of men in both of these cities are participating in sexual exploitation, but it's the women who are the ones who are judged as being the family, the people that break up the families.
And when you mentioned the little girls at the beginning, obviously, I know for you, like you grew up in the States, what does that context look like there as far as how women and girls are treated differently in Bolivia versus in the States? Like, could you kind of? give us that framework a little bit.
Oh, Doris would be so much better for this. Yeah, I mean, it's some of those things. Like if if there's not enough food, she goes without. If there is food, she serves first. If there's an opportunity for education, the brother is the one who gets that priority. Um, yeah, the burden of care is definitively heavier on a woman than on a man. And
And
Doris is here now.
yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. So Doris is here joining us. Doris is the National Director of Project Suma. So she is here on the call. She just arrived back in Bolivia from a whirlwind trip. So we're so grateful that you're able to join us as well, Doris. And I'll ask another question and then I'll let either of you guys take this one. So um, can you give an example of what protecting someone's dignity looks like in a practical way? Or if you want to share a story or an example a real life example of that, of protecting someone's dignity, what that looks like.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that question. And there's a story that's kind of guided our ministry. It's a story I'm sure most of us are familiar with in terms of the woman who comes and anoints Jesus's feet in the house of Simon, who's a Pharisee, right? And so Simon is appalled and he's having these thoughts to himself and he's saying, like, if only Jesus knew what kind of woman was touching him and doing this to him, um, that, he would be acting differently. And
Mhm.
Jesus says to Simon, like, Simon, do you see her? And I think that question is what, for me, points to dignity. I think it's how we see a situation, not necessarily what we see. And so when we see people in vulnerable circumstances, even if it's men on the side of the road who are drunk and urinating, um, or if we see a woman standing in the brothels, um, or if we see a child begging on the street, like what do we see? Do we see somebody who's bothering us or somebody who is clearly in sin? Or do we see them as valuable and worthy and important? Do we care about them and why they're in the places that we find them? Um, do we see their potential? Do we see their giftings? Jesus points out to this woman who's anointing his feet, Mary, like he sees her devotion, he highlights her devotion, her worship, her love. When Simon is just pointing out her sinfulness
Mhm.
and judging her for that.
I love that. And I feel like that's just even that question of do you see her is something that I think is such a unique thing. Like when we first talked about this series and this question, you guys were the obvious program to me that we talked to first because I think I've been with you and seen how you talk to the women and the children and how you see them. And I think that that is something that they immediately know and feel and that they're not getting from other people. Obviously, you could say they're not getting it from clients, but probably just within society. But just the fact that you're able to see them and to be with them and not always rushing to quickly fix the situation, I think is so critical to dignity, but critical to healing too.
Mm,
It's something you guys do beautifully.
thank you.
Um, so, and this one might be something, Doris, feel free if you want to jump in and take one, but if you want Andrea to take the ball.
O te lo puedo traducir también.
Okay. So when someone is living in a very vulnerable situation, it can be easy, it's kind of what we were just touching on, but it can be easy for others to focus on what they need or what they lack. So how do you make sure that the people you serve are seen as people with their own sense of agency and their own hopes and not just as people who need help?
¿Quieres responder todo? No? We'll see.
Dale tú, Nova.
Okay. Okay. How do we make sure that we don't come in as swift saviors? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I mean, for me, that's pretty simple. Like, I think it's recognizing our own humanity too. Like maybe we look at some people as less than, and we look at others as the resourced and the non-resourced, or however you want to say it.
Mhm.
Um, I think it means remembering we all come from the same place. We're all going to the same place. We all have our same similar challenges and desires and hopes, I think. And so for me, okay, I think that the the desire to serve can be very good. But yeah, it puts me on a pedestal in some ways. And it makes me feel good about myself.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really honor the person and what they have to give and what I might need as well. I don't know, it's just a leveling field. So your question was, how do we not just swoop in and fix? Like if I just think I know what you need, I think we've all been in a place where we don't appreciate when people do that. Like whatever it is, I'm dealing with my kid or etc. Like, um, I think walking with somebody and kind of like listening and understanding means a lot before you just have an opinion or a solution. At least that's what I appreciate.
For sure. And I think sometimes it's even remembering that, it can be easy, I think, when we're not easy. None of these situations are ever easy, but we want to look for like quick solutions, like what can we do to help this situation better? And I think just what you were saying of like recognizing our own humanity, their own humanity, and just kind of that leveling field is so important.
Well, and I think that's true. Like everybody wants to just, I do my good deed, wipe my hands off, and I feel better and I get on with my life. And I think walking with people, all of us are broken people. Walking with people is just messy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. What do you wish that people outside of these communities better understood about like the women you serve? Like we have a panel of people on this call who maybe have never um, worked with women who've been sexually exploited. What do you wish that we were able to understand about them, about the women?
So,
Si me traduces, ya. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Doris. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was traveling for 2 months ago and I'm so tired. I'm here in Bolivia. I'm so happy to be here with you. And thank you for my English is improving, but it's not very well. And I need to Andrea for translate me. And thank you. And okay, creo que algo muy importante respondiendo a tu pregunta, Rachel, que nosotros buscamos como Project Suma es que cualquier persona que está interactuando con ellas puedan verlas más allá de su pasado.
so we would hope that anybody could see our friends beyond just their current situation.
Que realmente podamos reconocer que ellas no son un número más en las estadísticas de personas afectadas por la explotación sexual,
They're not just a number, of modern day slavery or victims of sexual exploitation.
que son personas que tienen una historia tras
They're
ellas.
people that have a story,
Que son personas que han sido victimizadas por un sistema en el que ellas no han tenido ningún tipo de control.
that they've been victims of a system in many ways that they haven't had much control in.
y que nosotros somos parte de ese sistema también en alguna manera.
And also that we're also part of that system in some ways.
André.
Um, I would say when you think of a woman in prostitution, yeah, we think, or at least the people around us think of home wreckers or think that they are sleazy women, think of them being greedy women wanting easy money, which is deeply troubling to me because there's nothing easy about what our friends do. Um, most of the women that we know have been victims of sexual violence in their childhood, and they have grown up in very vulnerable places with a violence in their home most often, negligence, alcohol, or abandonment, like lots of vulnerabilities around them that have led them to a place of desperation. And when you're desperate and you're poor and you don't have a lot of opportunity and you have already been broken down by the things that have happened in your life, prostitution is the last option. And so, like we say that women in prostitution, whether she was definitively trafficked or she chose in some way, it was a choice when there were no other choices.
Mhm.
That's what I would like people to know.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Sorry.
great description. What does lasting change look like to you? So, how do you know when someone is beginning to move from simply surviving towards really experiencing a life of dignity? What does that look like to you?
Okay, I'm going to keep talking unless Doris tells me to stop. Is that okay? Or do you want to say something? Okay.
Ya, tú puedes.
Um, so we've kind of modeled our programming around what we call victim, survivor, thriver. So a victim would be somebody in sexual exploitation. A survivor would be someone coming out or fully out of the brothels. Um, but I think for all of us, we don't want to just be surviving. We want to thrive. You know, we want abundant life. That's what we say. What does that look like? I think it means that we are flourishing with our giftings. I think it means um, being able to make the choices for the dreams that I have. It means being able to give back and serve others, you know, like you're not just in survival mode, but you have some bandwidth to be able to pick up your head and look beyond yourself and give to your community or to others. Um, I think it means being safe and cared for, but more than that, it means being heard and being considered and being able to choose, like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and this is how I think I can get there. Um, yeah, I think it means having options and then being able to give from that place of abundance.
So good. In the midst of your reality and the difficult realities that you guys work within, where do you see hope?
Doris, I know you can answer that.
Bueno, personalmente veo esperanza cuando una mujer no está identificada por su pasado, no se identifica más por su historia.
So I see hope when a woman is no longer defined by her past.
Cuando ella está soñando en un futuro, cuando ella ya está pensando en un futuro para ella y para sus hijos,
When she's starting to dream about a future for herself and for her children.
cuando ella está pensando en que su historia puede influir y cambiar la historia de otras,
Mm. When she starts to realize that her story can be used to influence others.
cuando ella quiere levantar su voz
When
para poder hablar por otras.
when she wants to share her voice and advocate for others. Yeah.
Okay, and then last question, because we said we were going to try to keep this at 20 minutes. So, um, what is one thing that you guys, either of you, both of you, would want people listening today to carry with us after this conversation?
So Doris and I have been talking a lot about this. Um, we talk a lot about I think it's been in our head that we have, okay, how do I say this? We have felt a burden to sustain the mission, and all the things needed to keep Project Suma up and running. And I think we've had a little bit of an epiphany that, like, in 50 years, that's not really our ideal, or even in 25 years. Our ideal is that Project Suma wouldn't be needed. And if in the case that it still is needed, that it would be growing much further beyond us. And so that we don't have to be the caretakers of hundreds or thousands of women and children. Like, that's impossible, right? And so the take home is Project Suma has worked very hard to see and value vulnerable people, to walk with them, and to provide a safe space for them to be able to grow and thrive and be able to give back. And so if we could replicate what Suma does in lots of different places, if Casa Esperanza, the House of Hope, could be in Roswell, Georgia, in Nashville, Tennessee, I don't know, wherever you are. I'm in Nicholasville, Kentucky right now. If we could replicate that kind of safe community for vulnerable people wherever we are, this world would be a different place. And Third Ladder and everybody else wouldn't have to be the ones holding this all up. I mean, we're not anyway, here, hopefully you know what I'm saying. But that this work would be replicated wherever we are.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that even goes back to like that sense of agency that we talked about, and like that we each carry, and like we within ourselves can be that safe place to others, and really see people and how that in and of itself can be an act of change.
And people always like ask, like, how do we do this? Like, you're just tiptoeing around. How do we help the people in our community or whatever here or beyond? And I think it doesn't have to be that complicated. It's kind of how you like to be treated when you're hurting. And you extend that to other people, no matter who they are. It's really not that hard. Or not that complicated, I should say. It is hard, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did want to open it up to see if anyone else had any questions for Andrea or Doris. Okay. Thank you both so much. Thank you all for joining the call. It's encouraging to our team to have you here, and that you care and that you want to hear about this. Thank you for the ways that you support Third Ladder and Project Suma specifically. And Andrea and Doris, I love you both dearly and have so much respect for you, and as people, as women, as the work that you do, and the way you see people. It is something that is just really incredible. So thank you both. Doris, get some rest after all your travel.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Care.